Good afternoon, this is Marty from Dawg Blog. The noontime report is the morning session of the Frank Carson et al. Trial. Today is January 22nd, 2019. Court scheduled to start at 9:30. Judge, as her typical pattern, the first day back from a long weekend, which is every weekend, she's late, stuck in traffic. It happens every day. The first day back, especially when the jury's coming in later. Jury was scheduled actually for 10 o'clock today, as they had an issue to deal with. Judge did show up around 9:50, but then Marlissa Ferreira was late, and she got there around 10:17. Judge was on the bench around 10:24. So we're almost an hour after the scheduled start, and the jury's still not in the courtroom yet. Perveen Singh was in the courtroom. He was with his attorney scheduled to be here, tentatively scheduled to be here to testify. He was ordered back for February 5th, 2019 at 9:30 a.m. to maybe testify by then, maybe not, who knows. Then Marlissa Ferreira had an objection that was held over from last Friday in regards to Jai Gohel's last question of Robert Woody. And she said it was a broad question with no specific date, where he asked if he told any other lies and then about anything else. And it was too broad. There wasn't specific enough. And there could be multiple state of minds, and all the different statements that what Robert Woody's made to law enforcement, his attorneys, and everybody else involved. He could have different state of minds, different reasons. Jai Gohel didn't show the different statements, the investigators, and the preliminary hearing questions, and so on. So it's not necessarily proper for the trial. She's saying the preliminary hearing statements are not necessarily, the questions asked and the answers are not necessarily proper for trial. And the question was vague. She also said there was an improper foundation laid by the attorney. He cannot depend on preliminary hearing testimony, and it hasn't been done here for foundation. Jai Gohel argued that Marlissa Ferreira is trying to impose the rules and conditions on this case and is not anywhere near what the evidence code says. Robert Woody's testimony in preliminary hearing is that he went to Frank Carson's property. It's not exactly the same as said in trial, depending on which statement you're referring to. In addition, he also said that he went straight to the mountains after they left the Frank Carson property, and now he's not saying that. He says all state of mind testimony prior and now are inconsistent statements. He says, we got a late start today, and this is a waste of time more of a waste of a time that we're doing right now with this argument. This is a deliberate attempt to interrupt his cross-examination, as are all her objections. Sworn statements, there are sworn statements that are proper with the testimony in this trial and from the preliminary hearing. Marlissa Ferreira says that Robert Woody has admitted he lied and he does not need to be impeached. Jai Gohel says the Sixth Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America, the Sixth Amendment rights still apply despite the DA's claim here and today in court. He can go into prior statements and the defense right to impeach and of the nature and the ongoing and nature of the lies. Marlissa Ferreira says that the defense needs to specify which statements and which interviews. She's just saying he needs to be more specific, and Judge Aniga did agree with her on that part, that Jai Gohel needs to be more specific about which statements and which interviews that he's talking about. So jury was up at 10:41. Robert Woody was on the stand. Jai Gohel continues his cross-examination of Robert Woody, talking about statements to Dombey and Jacobson on 8/15 of 2015. He said that he went directly home, and not to the store in that statement. Was that a lie? Robert Woody said yes. When he said that he took the body directly to the mountains after the Frank Carson property, was that a lie? He said yes. He said he couldn't describe the gun. Was that a lie? He said yes. He said he buried the body without cutting the digits off, meaning the fingers and the toes. He did not recall saying them. Refreshed his preliminary hearing transcript. Says he didn't cut the digits before burying the body. Said he didn't know. And he said he didn't use the spigot on the property. He didn't wash his hands or anything afterwards. Again, he said he didn't recall. He was refreshing his transcript again. He says that he does not remember despite reading it. Jai Gohel wants to read it into the record. And Judge Iniga said they'll get back to that. There's an issue of some sort. I don't know what it is. He had told Dombey and Jacobson the fingers and toes were thrown into the river by Robin Attenhofer. Not him, but was with her when it was done. So throwing them into the river was a false statement. He said yes. February 2014, he talked about Miranda Dykes and the body wire. And was asked if 2012 to 2014, heard a lot of gossip and street talk, and he was asked if the Miranda Dykes statements were not true. He said that's correct, they were not true. Trying to impress her by admitting that he killed Corey Kaufman by himself. Robert Woody said he was not trying to romance Miranda Dykes. Again, reading from the transcript, where he told his attorney that he was trying to romance her, and after he read that, he says, yes, that's correct, I was trying to romance her. During that time that he was talking to Miranda Dykes, he was drinking heavily. During that period of time, not just that day, he was smoking methamphetamine and smoking a lot of marijuana. He was drinking 2 bottles of hard liquor a day during that time. Then at 3/1 of 14, he was arrested on February 28, 2014. The interview went into March 1st of 2014 with Kurt Bunch, John Evers, and I think Jacobson was in and out of the room. He said he had been on meth, he'd been drinking heavy and running hard for some time and hadn't slept in a few days. He's also, when that conversation with Miranda Dykes on the body wire was just prior to that. He said it was within that time period. It might have been a week or two, but it was during that time period, that whole time he had been running and drinking hard and running meth and using marijuana excessively. Asked why he made those statements to Miranda Dykes by investigators, says he was just dumb and stupid. And sometimes you don't know why. Jai Gohel asked him, sometimes you lie and don't know why you lie. And Robert Woody had a funny look on his face, and he says, I don't think so. On July 22nd, 2016, his interview with Marlissa Ferreira and Steve Jacobson at the district attorney's office, he gave the false story to that Frank Carson and Walter Wells were present. And again, he didn't know why he said that. He said he was just being stupid, because 3 months prior to that, in a statement to his attorney, he had made a totally different statement that Frank Carson and Walter Wells were not there. When he talked to his attorney, Martin Baker, And the private investigator, I believe his name was Hilton, lied when he said that Bobby Atwell had helped dig the hole at the popping cork. And during the preliminary hearing and the trial, he says that he dug it himself, and Bobby was just standing, keeping an eye out for anybody. There's a couple of areas of that he need to refresh with the preliminary hearing testimony. But did admit that it was a lie when he said that. He does not know why he lied. He didn't know why he lied about the fingers and the toes being thrown in the river. So Jai Gohill asked him if he lied for no particular reason. He goes, yeah, I guess so, correct. He told Martin Baker and the private investigator that the Atwell brothers had changed their clothes at Popping Cork after the Carson altercation and putting the body in the ground. He did not recall. He says, yes, that's true. That was a lie. After he refreshed again with the testimony. I should say the transcript, not the testimony. Again, he says he does not know why he lied. He said he testified that he had washed his hands with the spigot or the faucet outside by the Popping Cork lot, but he had told Martin Baker and his private investigator Hilton he didn't wash his hands. And he didn't recall saying that to the attorney. He refreshed it with the transcript of the interview with the attorney, and he says, yeah, that's correct. And he said that he lied for no particular reason. At Popping Cork, he was asked how many fires that he started. He said there was only one after the body had been taken to the mountains. But he said there was a statement where he had made that he said he started a fire at Popping Cork after coming back from the Protestant property and burying the body at Popping Cork. He says, he was asked, was that a lie? He says, yes, it was, correct. He's not saying yes, he's saying correct. Yes or correct. Correct on a lot of these. He did not know why he lied. At one point, he was throwing soil out of the back of the truck while coming back from the mountains. The truck had an open bed, and it was windy roads, but he said he was throwing dirt out of the back of the truck. On 8/14 of 15, he told Jacobson and Dombey that Bobby Atwell was driving the truck and throwing soil out of the truck at the same time. He didn't recall saying that or being told that this could be what they call an LWOP case. That's life without the possibility. Okay, I did skip a couple lines here like a dumbass. He didn't recall saying about the dirt thrown out of Bobby was throwing out dirt out of the truck, but he read the transcript from preliminary hearing, and he said, yes, that's what he said. Also, he was told that it could be an LWOP, was a life without the possibility of parole. He could get the death penalty. And, well, he felt that he could get he was afraid that he was going to get the death penalty. He was told that he was going to get the death penalty but he was asked if he had a fear of prison. He did not recall. Yes, he did say to Kirk Bunch that he had the fear of going to prison and getting the death penalty. So he did not say if he was willing to lie to avoid the death penalty, to lie in court to avoid the death penalty. He refreshed his transcript. He said yes, he would do that, lie to avoid the death penalty. But in this court hearing, in the trial, he said he would not lie. He says correct. But he did say that he was willing to lie in the preliminary hearing. He said he would lie to escape the death penalty as he sits here today testifying, not what he said a week or two ago. He went back to talk to him about the February 28, 2014, when he was taken into custody. And this is he was on a warrant for homicide he became aware of that warrant, and he was going to motel with Candy Watts, drinking heavy, smoking meth, and doing a lot of marijuana. After he was taken into custody, and after the 7-hour interview that he endured at the hands of investigators, he slept for 2 days. He didn't recall saying that. Again, he refreshed with a preliminary transcript, and it did say that he crashed for 2 days after that interview of 7 hours. On 4/6 of 2014, he called his dad from the jail in a jail call where he made statements that he was drunk, he was wired, he was tired during that interview. Made statements that he was told by investigators the first person to the table gets the deal, and John Everett is telling, you're the first person. So he was also told this is a golden opportunity to tell the truth, and he could do. And because they know full well that the Frank Carson and the Outlaw brothers will be pointing fingers at him and accusing him. And that was within a week or two of the Miranda Dykes wire, somewhere in that time period. I don't know the exact date of the body wire. The Kurt Bunch interview was on 3/1 of 14 after he was arrested on February 28th. They went into the March 1st. They did play parts of that body wire audio for him in the statements that he made to Miranda Dykes, and told him he was going to prison. He did not recall all of that because he said much of that was a fuzz because he was drunk, he was loaded, he was high, and he hadn't slept for several days. So he did not have a good recall about that. And he read the transcript, and it did say that he agreed that it did say that he was going to prison. So that's where the judge stopped it. We got a late start, but we got some things done. We got a little bit of time in front of the jury. We will be back at 1:30 for the afternoon session, and don't forget the podcast tonight at 6 o'clock.